The Galactic Council chamber was a vast dome of light and shadow. Its walls shimmered with shifting colors, alive with energy from 100 different star systems. At the center stood the great circular floor where arguments, bargains, and declarations decided the fate of entire civilizations. On this day, the voices inside were sharp, mocking, and filled with laughter. Dozens of alien leaders leaned forward in their tall seats, eyes glimmering with scorn. Some had shimmering scales, others smooth glass-like skin, still others with wings that twitched whenever they grew irritated. All of them were united in one thing: the dismissal of humanity. The topic on the floor was Earth's request to join the Galactic Union. The humans had sent their first official envoy, a single woman who now stood alone at the chamber's center. She was small compared to most of the towering species around her, fragile in their eyes. Yet she stood still, her hands folded calmly in front of her, while insults rained down. Primitive mammals, barely risen from mud. A species that burns its own world and calls it progress. Laughter rolled through the chamber like thunder. Some of the aliens pounded their claws or staffs against the floor in amusement. Others whispered to each other, dismissing Earth as a temporary spark, something that would burn bright for a moment and then vanish in the long timeline of the galaxy. The council speaker rose at last. He was a tall being with golden horns curling back from his head, his robe flowing with the weight of authority. Lifting the great staff of order, he struck it against the floor. The sound was like a bell echoing through space. "Enough," the speaker declared, his deep voice vibrating through the hall. "The question has been considered. The arguments have been heard. Humanity has no place among us." His staff struck the floor again, a sound of finality. Murmurs spread through the chamber, some triumphant, some merely satisfied that the matter was over. The vote was about to be taken. But before the speaker could finish, a voice rose from the center. Calm, steady, human. Dr. Alara Miles stepped forward, her eyes sweeping across the chamber. She was not dressed in armor or glittering robes, but in the simple, dark uniform of Earth's envoy. No weapons, no crown, nothing that spoke of power. Only her voice. "If you deny us today," she said, "it will not stop us." The hall grew still. Her words, quiet as they were, carried across the vast chamber with strange weight. "You cannot keep humanity out." The silence broke instantly with a roar of laughter. Some delegates hissed, others chatted in amusement. One alien, with translucent wings, sneered loudly enough for all to hear, bold words for a species that has not yet mapped a tenth of its own arm of the galaxy. Another delegate thumped a claw against the railing. "Proof? Where's your proof? What makes you believe your kind can stand where empires have fallen?" Their mockery spread again like fire through dry grass. Alara did not flinch. She raised her head and looked each of them in the eye, one after another. Some eyes were glowing orbs, some slits of cold predatory gaze, others soft and watery. But she held them all, steady and unafraid. "You laugh because you do not understand what humanity is," Alara said. Her voice sharpened, cutting through the noise. "You think we are young. You think we are weak. But you see only what is on the surface. You do not know what forged us." The laughter quieted. A ripple of unease spread through the chamber. Something in her tone carried the weight of hidden fire, as though she were holding back something far larger than herself. The speaker narrowed his eyes, leaning forward. "And what is it you claim has forged your kind, human? What truth do you believe we do not know?" Alara let the silence linger before she answered. Around her, the alien leaders leaned closer without realizing it. The chamber, once alive with noise, was now heavy with tension, the air almost electric. "Humanity is not what you think," she said slowly. "We have walked through fire. We have drowned in our own blood. We have clawed our way back from the edge of extinction not once, not twice, but again and again. We are not young. We are ancient in our suffering, and suffering has made us strong." Her words struck like iron. Some of the delegates shifted uncomfortably. A few sneered, but they no longer laughed. One alien, his scales glittering in blue light, raised his hand. "Stories. Words. Every world has suffered something. That does not make you fit to stand among the great. Ilara's gaze turned to him, unwavering. You have not yet heard what we endured. You have not seen how we respond when death surrounds us. Deny us today if you wish. But you will learn. The galaxy will learn. She paused, then added with quiet fire, because you cannot keep us out. A hush settled over the chamber, deeper than before. For the first time, the alien leaders did not seem certain. Some felt the sting of insult. How dare a fragile human speak so boldly? Others felt the chill of unease. What if there was truth hidden in her words? The speaker lifted his staff again, but this time he did not strike the floor. His golden eyes fixed on Ilara, as though trying to pierce the mystery of her defiance. Then speak, human, he said at last. Tell us this truth you believe will shake the galaxy. Tell us what makes you believe your species cannot be kept out. All eyes turned back to Ilara. The chamber lights flickered across her face, making her seem both small and immense at once. She drew a slow breath, her voice low but steady. Very well. You asked for proof. I will give you more than proof. I will give you the truth of who we are, and what waits for any who try to keep us caged. The silence was absolute now. The council chamber, filled only minutes before with mocking laughter, had turned into a place of tense stillness. Every word she spoke seemed to hang in the air like a blade. Dr. Ilara Miles stood alone at the center of the galaxy's highest chamber, surrounded by hundreds of powerful civilizations. But she did not tremble. She did not bend. Instead, with eyes that burned like stars, she began to speak the story of humanity, the story no alien in the chamber had ever heard, the story that would leave them stunned. And in that moment, even those who despised her felt something they could not name, the first flicker of fear. The silence inside the Galactic Council chamber was deep, almost heavy. All eyes remained fixed on Dr. Ilara Miles. She had challenged the pride of the galaxy's greatest civilizations, yet her voice had not trembled once. The speaker's staff rested against the floor, but he did not strike it. Instead, he leaned forward, waiting. Ilara's gaze moved slowly across the chamber. She saw the sneering faces, the doubtful whispers, the contempt that clung to every corner of the room. And yet, beneath it, she saw something else, an unease that none of them could hide. You asked for proof, she said at last. Then hear the story of what shaped us. Hear the truth of humanity's nature. The words rolled out quietly, but they struck like iron against the silence. When the first humans stood on Earth, we were prey, she began. We had no claws, no fangs, no thick hides to shield us. We were small, fragile things, meat for predators stronger and faster than us. By all rights, we should have vanished. A delegate with shimmering scales scoffed. Yet you stand here now. Your point. Ilara's eyes locked on him. My point is that we endured. When death circled us in the dark, we did not submit. We hunted what hunted us. We used stone when we had no metal, fire when we had no weapons. We adapted. That is the core of who we are. Her words rang with quiet defiance. The scaly delegate shifted in his seat, his confidence dimming slightly. Ilara continued, her voice steady, weaving her people's history into the chamber like a net. We faced ice ages that froze the world, when food was scarce and warmth was a luxury. Many species perished. We survived. We faced plagues that swept through our villages, killing families in days. Still we endured. Even when our own kind turned on each other, when wars burned cities and left millions dead, we rose from the ashes again and again. She paused, letting her words sink in. The chamber was quiet, the earlier laughter now replaced by an uneasy stillness. Do you know what happens when other civilizations collapse? Ilara asked softly. They vanish. Their ruins scatter across the stars as monuments of failure. But not us. When we fall, we rise stronger. Each disaster becomes our teacher. Each tragedy becomes our weapon. A creature with translucent wings leaned forward, his voice sharp. And you believe this suffering makes you worthy to stand among us? Ilara's gaze never wavered. Yes, because suffering forged us into something that cannot be broken. We are not defined by comfort or stability. We are defined by struggle, and struggle never leaves us. The speaker's golden eyes narrowed. Strong words, but the galaxy has many who suffered, many who fought and died. Why should humanity be different? Ilara's expression hardened. Because where others break, we change. Where others surrender, we resist. Where others die, we endure. It is not in our nature to surrender to despair. You call us young, but our resilience is older than any empire you built. A murmur spread through the chamber. Some of the aliens whispered to each other, their tones uneasy. The idea unsettled them. Civilizations rose and fell all across the stars, but the humans were claiming something far more dangerous, that they could not be erased. Ilara took a step forward, her voice rising. You mock us as primitive, but you have not seen what desperation makes of us. When resources fail, we build from nothing. When enemies surround us, we fight against odds no sane creature would accept. When death reaches for us, we spit in its face and push forward. That is our history. That is our truth. One alien elder, his form made of shifting mist, whispered, You speak as if humans thrive on chaos. Ilara turned toward him. Not chaos. Challenge. Hardship. The universe tries to break us again and again, and every time, we learn, we adapt, we rise. That is why you cannot keep us out. Because the harder you push against us, the stronger we will become. The chamber vibrated with unease. The delegates, once so quick to mock, were silent now. Some leaned back, arms crossed, unwilling to admit the weight of her words. Others leaned forward, their eyes narrow, as if trying to see deeper into the human envoy's soul. The speaker's voice finally broke the silence. You speak with conviction, human. But words are not proof. The Union is built on action, not tales of your world's pain. Ilara's expression was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. Then you will have your proof. I will show you, piece by piece, what humanity has endured. I will show you what we have done when others said survival was impossible. And when you hear it all, you will understand why your walls, your rules, your laughter cannot keep us out. For a long moment, no one spoke. The chamber was still, filled with tension so thick it pressed against the walls. Finally, the speaker leaned back, his staff resting across his lap. Very well, human. Speak. Show us this history you claim will shake the stars. Ilara lifted her chin. Her voice, though quiet, carried with unshakable certainty. Then listen. Listen to the story of fire, of ice, of blood, and of survival. Listen to the truth of humanity. And as she began to tell it, the council chamber felt smaller, as though the galaxy itself was leaning closer to her. The chamber of the Galactic Council hung heavy with Ilara's words. For the first time since the session began, no one laughed. The stories of fire, ice, and blood carried weight. Even the most arrogant delegates now watched her with narrowed eyes. Then, a whisper broke the silence. One alien, a guard standing near the hall's edge, muttered almost to himself. They adapt too quickly. The words echoed louder than intended. Several heads turned. Uneasy glances spread through the chamber. It was not the first time this idea had surfaced. Reports had already traveled across the stars, carried by traders and explorers. Humans settling worlds marked as inhospitable, surviving on air too thin, food too scarce, storms too violent. Whole colonies were thriving where other species had failed. An insectoid delegate clicked his mandibles, voice sharp. Your kind spreads like fire. You consume, you conquer, you bend worlds to your will. Is that not danger, human? Ilara's calm eyes turned toward him. Yes, she said softly. We spread like fire. But fire does more than consume. It brings light. It warms. It protects against the dark. And the dark is coming. A ripple went through the chamber. The word dark carried weight in the old tongues of several species. Some shifted nervously, their wings trembling or their limbs tightening. Others leaned closer, suspicion flashing in their eyes. What dark? Demanded a delegate whose crystalline body refracted the chamber lights into blinding colors. You speak of threats, yet no enemy stands at our gates. Ilara did not flinch. She let the silence stretch, forcing them to lean into her words. On the outer rim of the galaxy, something moves. Something ancient. Our explorers have seen ships vanish, colonies wiped out, entire fleets swallowed by silence. Your council ignores these warnings, dismisses them as rumor. But I tell you now, it is real. Gasps, mutters, and growls rose from the chamber. Some dismissed her immediately, fear-mongering. They hissed. Others looked at one another with unease, recalling fragments of old records, half-forgotten legends about machine worlds that stripped planets bare. The speaker lifted his staff, his voice calm but laced with warning. Be careful, human. Do not speak of shadows to sway the council. We deal in truth, not myths. Ilara's gaze sharpened. It is truth, and when it comes, all your rules and walls will not save you. The only thing that will stand against it is what you now mock, humanity's refusal to die. Her voice rang across the chamber, fierce and steady. The words stirred discomfort deep within the council. A feathered delegate spoke in a low, troubled tone. I heard reports from the Corin sector. Ships vanished without distress calls. Wreckage found, but no survivors. Another, with glass-smooth skin, hissed in alarm. Lies! Old ghost stories. But their voices trembled. Ilara stepped forward, her voice quieter now, but it carried more weight than before. You fear us because we do not stop. You fear us because we do not break. But what you should fear is the storm coming for all of us. And when it arrives, remember this, humans run into storms. The chamber fell into a strained silence. Some delegates shook their heads, unwilling to believe. Others looked away, hiding the unease growing in their hearts. For the first time, the Galactic Council was not laughing. They were listening, and beneath their pride, a silent fear had taken root. The chamber's air felt tense, heavy as stone. The delegates shifted uneasily in their seats, their voices hushed. Dr. Ilara Miles stood tall in the center, her presence calm yet unshakable. You doubt my words, she said, her tone steady. But humanity does not trade in illusions. When we speak of danger, it is because we have seen it with our own eyes. The speaker narrowed his golden eyes. Then speak, human. Show us this danger that makes you believe only your kind can face it. Ilara inhaled slowly, her voice dropping into the quiet rhythm of a story. At the far edge of the Orion Arm, human scouts found silence. Entire systems, empty. Planets stripped bare. Their oceans boiled away. Their atmospheres gone. No sign of life, no trace of civilization. Only scars carved into the very crust of worlds, as though some great hand had torn them apart. The words drew a ripple through the council. Some scoffed. Others sat stiff, their eyes widening. A scaled delegate with jagged horns hissed, Stories. The rim has always been full of dangers, radiation storms, unstable stars, ancient battlefields. You dress chaos in the shape of monsters. Ilara shook her head. We know storms. We know chaos. This is different. Our ships found marks cut into metal hulls, not by time or gravity, but by weapons no human hand could forge. Entire fleets vanished without distress calls. Not destroyed in battle, erased. A low murmur spread. Delegates whispered to one another, some exchanging fearful glances. A winged elder leaned forward, feathers trembling. If this is true, then why come here? Why not prepare alone? Ilara's eyes met his. Because humanity does not fight only for itself. When the darkness comes, it will not stop at Earth. It will spread until every world, every city, every people fall into silence. We cannot stop it alone, but we can resist it longer than most. And in that resistance, there is hope. Her words rang like a challenge, echoing across the chamber. The speaker lifted his staff. You speak boldly, human. Too boldly. You ask us to believe in shadows, in whispers carried by frightened explorers. Ilara stepped closer to the center, her voice now sharp as steel. I ask you to believe in patterns. Look beyond your walls. The disappearances are real. The ruins are real. Your own traders whisper of ships gone missing. You silence them because you fear panic. But silence will not save you. Only truth will. The chamber fell into silence again. The delegates shifted, their confidence shaken. Some tapped their claws. Others twitched their tails or clicked mandibles nervously. Pride clashed with unease. A crystalline delegate, his body glowing faintly, finally broke the quiet. And you claim humans are the answer to this threat? That you alone can resist it? Elara's gaze swept across the chamber. Not alone, but we are the ones who will not turn away. We are the ones who step into storms, who fight against the impossible. You may bar us from your counsel, but when the darkness comes, it is humanity that will still be standing. Her words struck like thunder. Some delegates scoffed, desperate to hold on to their pride. Others sat still, their faces unreadable, but their silence spoke louder than denial. For the first time, the speaker's grip on his staff tightened. His voice was calm, but a flicker of unease crept through. If your words are true, human, then the galaxy is already in more danger than we wish to believe. Elara did not smile, did not gloat. She only nodded. Yes, and that is why you cannot keep us out. The chamber remained heavy with silence, but in that silence, fear had grown roots. The warning of the Outer Rim could no longer be dismissed as myth. It was now a shadow on every world, a weight pressing down on every delegate's heart. The chamber remained hushed, its silence sharp as a blade. Fear and pride wrestled in every delegate's heart, but no one dared to speak first. Dr. Elara Miles let the stillness stretch, knowing that silence often carried more weight than argument. Finally, she broke it. Her voice was low, deliberate. You ask why humanity should stand among you. You demand proof that we are more than stories and shadows. Very well. Let me show you what humanity has faced and why we are still here. A ripple of curiosity stirred through the chamber. Even those who mocked her earlier leaned forward, unable to look away. Elara's eyes swept across the assembly. Our history is not one of ease. We have no ancient bloodlines of stability, no golden ages that lasted unbroken. Our history is written in struggle. Do you know what we call the greatest war we ever fought on Earth? The World War. Not a skirmish, not a border fight, an entire planet aflame. Nations clawed at one another with weapons so powerful they scarred the very sky. Tens of millions perished. Whole cities were reduced to ash. Gasps echoed through the council chamber. Several delegates exchanged horrified glances. Civil wars, border skirmishes, and even planetary disputes were common among galactic races. But a war that spanned an entire world. It was almost unthinkable. Elara continued, her tone never faltering. And yet, when it ended, we rebuilt. We forged alliances out of ruin. We created a world order meant to prevent such destruction from consuming us again. The ashes became our soil for growth. A delegate with translucent wings tilted his head, his voice filled with disbelief. You burned your own world, and call it strength. Yes, Elara answered firmly. Because we rose from it. Because even in the face of our own self-destruction, we refused to vanish. Our darkest hour did not end us, it taught us. The chamber stilled again, the weight of her words pressing on them all. She moved on, her voice sharper now. We faced plagues that wiped out millions. Entire continents were stricken with death. For centuries, humanity trembled at diseases we could not cure. But we learned. We built science from desperation. We made vaccines, treatments, cures, turning terror into triumph. Each time death reached for us, we fought back with knowledge and will. An elder of living mist whispered, "You turned disaster into fuel." Elara's gaze locked with his shifting form. Exactly. Where others fall, we climb. When famine starved us, we cultivated deserts. When floods drowned us, we built barriers. When fire consumed us, we rebuilt higher than before. We are not stronger than nature. We are not invincible, but we refuse to surrender. Her voice rose now, filling every corner of the chamber. Do you not see? Every trial that should have broken us only made us harder to break. Every disaster became our teacher. Every tragedy became our weapon. That is why you cannot bar us from this council. because the galaxy itself cannot keep us out. The chamber trembled with uneasy energy. Some delegates scowled, unable to accept the challenge in her words. Others sat silent, their pride cracking as they realized the truth she carried. The speaker lifted his staff slowly, his golden eyes watching her. Strong claims, human. But words alone do not make truth. You tell us of your past. But what of your future? Will your people turn this same fire against the stars themselves? Elara's eyes burned with quiet conviction. Our fire is not only for destruction. It is for survival, for light, for hope. We do not seek to rule this galaxy, but we will not be shut out of it. Deny us now, and you will see. Humanity will rise regardless, because rising is what we do. The chamber fell into silence once more. But this time, the silence was not disbelief. It was faith, and for the first time, respect. The chamber felt like a storm held inside stone walls. The delegates, once united in laughter at humanity's expense, now fractured into whispers, arguments, and rising voices. Dr. Alara Miles stood firm in the center, silent, watching the cracks form. The first voice to break fully was sharp and cold. A delegate of crystal, glowing faintly with inner light, slammed his hand against the table. This is madness. Humans are dangerous, too dangerous. You heard it yourselves. They burn their own world. They fight wars that swallow nations. To welcome them into the Union is to invite chaos into our heart. His words drew nods from several others. A scaled warlord hissed his agreement. They thrive on conflict. Admit them, and you invite instability. The galaxy bleeds enough without these firewalkers stoking it further. But then a winged elder rose, feathers trembling, eyes fixed on Alara. His voice was softer, yet carried far. And yet, can you not feel the truth in her words? Every empire here has fallen once, some more than once. Our ruins drift in the void, reminders of our weakness. But humanity, young though they are, carries something different. They do not break. They rise. The chamber rippled with debate. Voices clashed like blades. They spread too fast. One insectoid delegate screeched, mandibles clacking. They are reckless, yes, counted a serpent-like figure. But recklessness and courage often walk the same path. They will destroy us, or they will save us when the shadow comes. The speaker's staff struck the floor once, sending a deep boom through the chamber. Silence followed, but it was strained, stretched thin over clashing beliefs. Alara finally spoke, her voice cutting through the tension. You fear us because we fight, because we refuse to surrender. But tell me, when the darkness comes, what will save you? Pride? Old treaties? Or a people who have built their very existence on surviving the impossible? Her challenge lingered, stinging every ear. The speaker's golden eyes narrowed. Bold words, human. But words do not decide this chamber. A vote will. Murmurs spread instantly. A vote, here and now. Delegates leaned toward each other, whispering, bargaining, their faces masks of pride and fear. Some looked ready to condemn humanity outright. Others hesitated, caught between mistrust and the quiet seed of respect Alara had planted. Before the speaker could raise his staff to begin, the great doors of the chamber burst open. A messenger stumbled in, his robes torn, his face pale with terror. The chamber erupted in alarm. The speaker's voice boomed. Order! Speak! Messenger! What days interrupt the council? The trembling envoy fell to his knees, voice cracking. The outer rim, another fleet is gone. Entire systems, silent. Not a trace left. They are coming. The chamber froze. Every delegate, every guard, every voice that once mocked or doubted, fell into silence. Only Alara's voice broke it, low and steady, carrying like iron. Now you see, the storm is not a story. It is here, and if you shut us out, you shut yourselves out of survival. Her words hung in the air, and for the first time, the council's fear was no longer of humanity, but of what waited beyond the stars. The chamber held its breath. The messenger's words echoed in every mind. Another fleet, another system, gone. The silence felt heavier than stone, as if the entire galaxy itself pressed down on the council chamber. Dr. Alara Miles stood at the center, her face calm, her voice steady. You wanted proof. Now you have it. The shadow is not myth. It is here, and you must decide. Will you face it with us or without us? The speaker's golden eyes swept across the hall. Delegates shifted, some pale with fear, others stubborn with pride. His staff rested against the floor, but his hand trembled faintly on its grip. The crystal-bodied delegate rose again, voice sharp. This proves nothing. We cannot gamble the Union's safety on a species built on war. Admit them, and we invite our doom sooner. But the winged elder spread his trembling feathers and spoke, his voice low yet fierce. No, doom has already come. You felt it in her words before, and now the messenger confirms it. The question is not whether humans bring chaos. The question is whether they are the only ones who can resist it long enough for the rest of us to survive. Murmurs spread like fire. Some agreed, others hissed denial. The council fractured further, pride warring with instinct. Then Alara raised her voice, not loud, but sharp, cutting through the noise like a blade. You fear us because we fight, because we rise when all logic says we should fall. But that is what the galaxy needs now. You may call us reckless, but we are reckless enough to stand when all others run. You may call us dangerous, but we are dangerous to the very thing that haunts your stars. She let the silence return before finishing. You cannot keep us out, because the darkness will not wait for your pride. And when it comes, humanity will be there, with or without your blessing. The speaker stood, staff glowing with golden light. His voice was heavy, yet steady. The vote will be taken now. One by one, the delegates cast their voices. Crystals of light rose into the air, red for rejection, blue for acceptance. The chamber filled with shifting color, a storm of decision. At first, red glimmered brighter, rejection, dismissal, fear. But then, slowly, blue spread. One delegate, then another, then entire factions shifted. The winged elders vote. The serpents, even some who mocked earlier now cast their crystals for earth. When the last light rose, the chamber shone more blue than red. Not unanimous, not without resistance, but enough. The speaker lifted his staff, striking it once. The sound echoed like thunder. By vote of the council, Earth shall not be kept out. Humanity is recognized. The chamber erupted. Some shouted in anger, others in disbelief, many in fear. But a current of something else ran through the storm. Relief and the quiet recognition of a new force entering the galaxy. Alara bowed her head once, calm, composed, but her eyes burned with fierce light. She had not come for triumph. She had come for truth. And now, the galaxy could no longer turn away. As the chamber roared, the messenger still knelt on the floor, trembling. Beyond the walls of the council, the stars waited, and in the shadows between them, the unknown threat drew closer. But for the first time, humanity stood within the Union. And for the first time, the galaxy would face the storm not alone, but with the one species that refused to break. Right. The council chamber had not emptied for hours. Even after the vote was sealed, the air was thick with debate, suspicion, and fear. Some delegates stormed away, muttering curses against humanity. Others lingered, whispering quietly, as if afraid the very shadows above them might be listening. Dr. Alara Miles stood alone at the center. Her hands rested calmly at her sides, but inside she felt the weight of 1,000 gazes. For a moment, she closed her eyes. Earth had been accepted, but it was no victory parade. The vote had not been unanimous, and the fear that had filled the chamber was far greater than the respect humanity had earned. The speaker's staff struck the floor once more, demanding silence. The decision has been made. Humanity will join the Union. But let no one here believe this ends our trial. The shadow grows. The reports of dead fleets and silent systems must be addressed. Every species represented in this chamber will prepare for war. Gasps filled the hall. Some protested instantly. We are not ready. We have not fought in centuries. To rush blindly is to fall faster. The speaker's golden eyes burned. To do nothing is to die. The shadow does not negotiate. Elara took a step forward, her voice calm yet carrying like steel. You speak truth. But understand this. Humanity does not prepare for war the way you do. We do not wait. We do not deliberate endlessly. We move. That is how we survived our own history, and it is how we will survive this. A winged elder nodded slowly, feathers trembling. Then guide us, human. You are untested among the stars, but perhaps that is why you are unbroken by fate. Before Elara could answer, the great chamber doors opened once more. This time, not a lone messenger, but an entire team of envoys entered, carrying broken pieces of metal, scorched black and bent beyond recognition. They set the fragments down at the speaker's feet. These were recovered at the edge of the rim. One envoy said, his voice hollow. It was all that remained of the fleet. The speaker bent low, examining the shards. Alien alloys, crushed as if by unimaginable force. Then his hand froze upon one fragment. A mark, burned deep into the metal, glowing faintly with residual energy. Not a language of any known species. Not a signature of any fleet. Something else. Something older. Elara moved closer, her eyes narrowing. That is not destruction. That is a message. The shard pulsed faintly in the chamber light. A series of jagged lines etched into its surface. Some delegates recoiled. Others leaned closer in fascination. What does it mean? The serpent delegate hissed. The envoy's voice cracked. Our scholars believe it to be a warning or a claim. The translation is uncertain, but the closest we can read is, you are not the first. You will not be the last. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some shouted fear, others denial. One insectoid delegate screeched, this is impossible. No force claims entire galaxies. Elara's voice rose above them, sharp and unwavering. And yet it stands before you. You wanted proof. Here it is. We are not dealing with a warlord or a rival empire. We face something that has ended civilizations before, and now it comes for us. The speaker turned toward her, eyes searching. And what do humans propose, Dr. Miles? Elara did not hesitate. We fight. We prepare not as scattered worlds, but as one. You call us reckless, dangerous, primitive. Fine. Then let that danger work for us. Let our recklessness become your shield. Humanity has always fought impossible wars. This will be no different. The crystal-bodied delegate rose, still trembling. And if we join you, human, if we stand as one, can you promise survival? Elara met his glowing eyes without flinching. No, but I can promise this. Humanity will never stop fighting. And as long as we breathe, neither will you. That is our gift to the galaxy. That is why you cannot keep us out. Silence spread again. A different silence than before. Not the silence of fear, but of grim recognition. The delegates looked at one another and knew the galaxy had shifted. For the first time in living memory, the council was united, not in laughter or mockery, but in dread. And yet, in the heart of that dread, something else flickered. A spark, a beginning. The speaker lifted his staff high, the sound of its strike echoing like thunder. Then it is decided. Humanity stands among us. And from this day, the Union stands ready for war. The chamber roared with voices, not of celebration, but of resolve. Far beyond the Council's walls, beyond the spiral arms of the galaxy, in the silent reaches of the void, something stirred. Vast and patient. The Crithian doom sphere, long-thought legend, pulsed once with cold light. Its message had been delivered. Its hunger was endless. But now, for the first time in eons, resistance would meet it. And at the heart of that resistance, humanity. Dr. Elara Miles lifted her eyes toward the stars she could not see, her voice low, steady, and unshaken. Let them come.